The lecture hall of Galactic Academy Station 7 was unusually quiet as Professor Telem Kahiros prepared his notes. His antlers, polished to a soft sheen for the occasion, caught the artificial light from above as he shuffled through his digital files. The anxiety radiating from his students was palpable, a mixture of fear, curiosity, and apprehension that seemed to thicken the air. As an Alkin, Professor Kahiros stood at an imposing 8 feet tall, his large forward-facing eyes scanning the room with an intensity that belied his herbivorous nature. Despite the predatory appearance his species had evolved, a curious quirk of natural selection on their peaceful homeworld, Alkin were among the most docile sentients in the Galactic Council. "Quiet down now," he announced, his voice carrying that particular resonance unique to Alkin, melodic and soothing, evolved for communicating across dense forests rather than for intimidation. The murmuring ceased immediately. "As I'm sure you're all aware," he continued, tapping his 3-fingered hand against the edge of his desk, the soft click of his nails punctuating each word, "today marks a historic occasion for our institution. For the first time in the 800 years since the founding of the Galactic Educational Cooperative, we will be welcoming students from Earth." A ripple of whispers spread through the classroom before quickly subsiding. The term Earth had become almost mythological in recent months, a forbidden planet, a death world, home to the most terrifying sentient species yet discovered. "Humans," Kahiros said simply, allowing the word to hang in the air. "The newest members of the Galactic Council, Athalia Zenov, a Pythrox female with iridescent scales that shifted from deep violet to midnight blue depending on the light, raised her clawed hand. As the only carnivore in the class, she was used to being feared. The semicircle of empty desks surrounding her was testament to that. But even she seemed unnerved by the prospect of meeting a human. "Professor," she said, her voice carrying the characteristic rasp of her species, "is it true what they say, that humans come from a Category 5 death world?" Professor Kahiros clicked his tongue thoughtfully, hooves shifting slightly on the platform. "Yes, that is correct, Athalia. Earth is indeed the first confirmed Category 5 death world to produce sentient life." Another student, a Melosian with translucent skin that revealed the slow, methodical pumping of their 3 hearts, raised a trembling tendril. "But how is that possible, Professor?" "The theoretical models suggest." "Theoretical models," Kahiros interrupted gently, "are precisely that, theoretical. Until the discovery of humans 2 standard years ago, it was widely believed that sentient life could only evolve on worlds within specific parameters. Humans have challenged those assumptions." The class fell silent again, each student processing this information according to their biological makeup. Some secreted stress pheromones, others rapidly blinked tertiary eyelids, and a few simply froze in the instinctive response of their prey ancestors. "Now," the professor continued, moving to the holographic display at the center of the room, "I think it would be beneficial if we discussed what exactly constitutes a death world before our guests arrive." With a wave of his hand, a 3-dimensional projection of planetary classification systems appeared, rotating slowly for all to see. "As you know, habitable worlds are categorized on a scale of 1 to 5, with Class 1 being the most hospitable to complex life and Class 5 being," he hesitated, searching for the right words, "theoretically incompatible with sentient development." The hologram shifted to show various planetary conditions. "Class 1 worlds, like Melosia or my own homeworld of Calum, have stable climates, limited natural disasters, mostly non-toxic flora, and few predator species. The majority of Council worlds fall into this category. Class 2 worlds exhibit one significant hazard, perhaps unstable tectonic activity, extreme seasonal variations, or a modest number of predator species. Approximately 30% of Council species evolved on Class 2 worlds. Class 3 worlds have multiple hazards, but maintain sufficient stability for the development of complex life. Only 12 known sentient species have emerged from such environments. Class 4 worlds, of which we have only 3 confirmed examples in Council space, present extreme challenges to life. High radiation levels, aggressive predators, toxic vegetation, and unpredictable climate events make such planets nearly uninhabitable. The Vorax are our only current Council members from such a world. He paused, sensing the anticipation in the room. And then, there is Earth, a Class 5 death world. The hologram shifted to display a rotating blue-green sphere, seemingly innocuous, even beautiful. Initial scans revealed a planet with crushing gravity, 1.3 times the galactic standard, atmospheric pressure that would collapse the respiratory systems of most Council species, extreme temperature variations ranging from -50 to +50 degrees on the standard scale, tectonic instability resulting in earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions, weather systems capable of generating winds strong enough to lift structures from the ground, oceanic conditions that can produce waves taller than this building. The students stared in horrified fascination at the hologram as it began highlighting these features. But Professor Serros wasn't finished. But perhaps most remarkably, Earth contains over 8 million distinct species of life forms. For comparison, most Class 1 worlds support between 50 and 100,000 species total. Among Earth's biodiversity are predators capable of killing creatures 10 times their size, microscopic organisms that can devastate entire populations, plants containing enough toxins to kill a Vorax in minutes, and insects with venom that can dissolve organic tissue on contact. Athalia, despite being a predator herself, visibly shuddered. And yet, the professor continued, his voice dropping to something approaching reverence, from this hellscape emerged humans, a species that not only survived but thrived to the point of achieving space travel in less than 5,000 years following their agricultural revolution. The classroom door slid open with a soft pneumatic hiss, cutting short the discussion. The headmaster, a tall centaurian with 4 arms and metallic skin, stepped through, followed by a figure that caused every student to instinctively recoil. The human was smaller than most had expected, perhaps 175 centimeters tall, but there was something undeniably unsettling about its appearance. It walked with a fluid grace that seemed almost predatory, but without the typical swaying gait of carnivorous species. Its limbs were proportioned oddly, with strange jointing that allowed for both precise articulation and devastating power. Most disturbing were its eyes, forward-facing like a predator's, but expressive in a way that seemed to convey both intellect and emotion simultaneously. Professor Serros, the headmaster, said formally, "May I present Diana Reynolds, one of the 30 human exchange students joining our academy this cycle." The professor inclined his antlered head in greeting, trying to mask his own reflexive fear response. "Welcome, Human Reynolds. We are honored by your presence." The human's face contorted in what some students recognized as a smile, though on Earth, the baring of teeth often preceded an attack, rather than signifying friendliness. "Just Diana is fine," she said, her voice surprisingly melodious. The translation implants everyone wore rendered her alien speech perfectly, but there was something about the cadence that reminded Professor Serros of his own species. "Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this exchange program since it was announced." The professor gestured to an empty desk, coincidentally, or perhaps not, positioned between his own desk and Athalia's isolation zone. "Please make yourself comfortable. We were just discussing your homeworld." Diana moved to the desk with that same disturbing grace, every movement efficient and purposeful. Several students flinched as she passed, but she either didn't notice or politely pretended not to. "I'd be happy to answer any questions about Earth," she offered as she settled into the seat, which was clearly not designed for human physiology. Despite this, she adjusted with remarkable adaptability. For several moments, no one spoke. Then Athalia surprised everyone by breaking the silence. "Is it true that humans are omnivores?" she asked, leaning forward slightly, her predatory instincts overriding her fear. Diana nodded. "Yes, we can digest both plant and animal matter. Most humans eat a combination of both, though some choose plant-exclusive or meat-exclusive diets for various reasons." A collective gasp went through the room. Omnivores were theoretical constructs in xenobiology. The idea that a species could evolve to process both types of nutrition efficiently had been dismissed as evolutionarily implausible. Yet here sat living proof. "But how?" asked a Gelidian student, their crystalline structure vibrating in confusion. "A species would need to evolve in an environment with both abundant plant life and prey animals to develop omnivorous capabilities. Earth has both," Diana said simply. "Or at least it did. We've unfortunately driven many species to extinction through overhunting and habitat destruction, but for most of our evolutionary history, Earth provided ample opportunities for both hunting and gathering plant foods." Professor Serros found his scientific curiosity overcoming his instinctive wariness fascinating. This would suggest that Earth is both a floral and predator-class world, which is exceptionally rare. Diana tilted her head slightly. "I'm not familiar with those classifications, but Earth has a wide variety of ecosystems. Some regions are dominated by plant life, rainforests, grasslands, while others support complex predator-prey relationships." "And what about natural disasters?" asked another student. "Our data suggests Earth experiences extreme weather phenomena." "Oh yes," Diana said, with what appeared to be casualness that shocked the class. "Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, blizzards, floods, droughts, we have all of those. Some regions more than others, of course." Professor Serros blinked rapidly, his nictitating membranes betraying his surprise. "So Earth is also a disaster-class world?" "I suppose so," Diana agreed. "Though we've developed warning systems and construction techniques to minimize casualties and temperature variations," the professor pressed, now fully engaged in scientific inquiry. "Depends on the region and season. The poles can reach -60°C in winter, while deserts can exceed 50°C in summer. Most populated areas experience annual variations of at least 40 degrees between seasons." The classroom had gone completely silent. Even the headmaster, who had remained by the door, seemed stunned despite having been briefed on these facts. So Professor Serros said slowly, trying to process this information, "Earth qualifies as a floral predator disaster and temperature-class death world." Diana shrugged, a uniquely human gesture that several students made note of. "I guess so, though it's just home to us. We've adapted." "Adapted," the professor repeated faintly. Then gathering himself, "Yes, adaptation. The cornerstone of evolution, though I must admit the level of adaptation required to not merely survive but thrive in such conditions is unprecedented." Professor Athalia interrupted, her predatory focus now fully on Diana. "You haven't mentioned the gravity. Humans evolved on a high-gravity world, correct? Is that why they appear so dense?" Diana laughed, causing several students to flinch at the unexpected sound. "Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. Yes, Earth's gravity is stronger than the galactic standard. It's actually one of the reasons we were hesitant about this exchange program. We were concerned that other environments might be too low gravity for us. I've been taking supplements to maintain muscle and bone density since arriving." Professor Serros nodded thoughtfully. "That explains the reinforced furniture in your quarters. We were told it was a necessary accommodation, though the specifics were vague." "Yeah, we've had a few incidents during the orientation," Diana admitted. Apparently humans are significantly stronger than most council species, even accounting for the gravity differential. I accidentally broke 3 chairs before they found one that could support me properly. Athalia leaned forward, her carnivore's instincts now fully engaged in sizing up a potential competitor. How strong are humans exactly? Diana considered the question. It varies widely between individuals, but the average human can lift about twice their body weight with proper technique. Elite athletes can lift 3 to 4 times their weight. Our muscles are apparently denser than most council species, and our skeletal structure is reinforced to handle the strain. Impressive, Athalia conceded, though her posture remained alert. A shy Florian student raised a leaf appendage. I've heard rumors that humans can regenerate. Is that accurate? Diana smiled again, and this time several students noted that she kept her teeth covered, perhaps having been briefed on cross-species etiquette. Not in the way you're probably thinking. We can't regrow limbs or organs, but we do heal from injuries that would be fatal to many species. Broken bones knit back together. Damaged tissue repairs itself. With medical intervention, we can survive the loss of substantial amounts of blood, traumatic injuries, and even the failure of certain organs. Remarkable, Professor Serus murmured. Simply remarkable, and your endurance. Our briefing mentioned something about persistence hunting. At this, Diana's expression changed subtly, and several students felt an inexplicable chill. There was something ancient and primal in her eyes now, a glimpse of the predator that lurked beneath the veneer of civilization. Yes, she said quietly. Before we developed advanced weapons, some human cultures hunted by simply following prey animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Humans can maintain a moderate pace for hours, even days. Most predators on Earth are sprinters. They exhaust quickly. We're marathon runners. The image this conjured, of humans relentlessly pursuing prey across vast distances, never tiring, never stopping until their quarry collapsed, sent a visible shudder through the classroom. But, Diana added hastily, perhaps sensing the unease, that was thousands of years ago. Modern humans don't typically need to hunt that way. We've developed agriculture, animal husbandry, and technologies that make such methods unnecessary. Professor Serus nodded, attempting to steer the conversation back to academic territory. Of course, evolution provides capabilities, but culture determines how they're employed. A fascinating case study in adaptation. He glanced at the chronometer and realized they had spent the entire period discussing Earth and humans. It seems we've used our entire session on this preliminary discussion. Diana, would you be willing to assist me in preparing material for our next class? I believe your first-hand knowledge would be invaluable. I'd be happy to. Diana agreed, rising from her seat with that same unsettling fluidity. Several students leaned away as she stood, prompting a tiny, almost imperceptible sigh from the human. Class dismissed, Professor Serus announced. For your next assignment, please research one aspect of human biology, or Earth's environment, and prepare a short presentation. Diana has graciously agreed to field questions, but please be respectful of cultural differences. As the students filed out, many giving the human a wide berth, Athalia lingered. She approached Diana, with the deliberate stride of a predator, her scales shifting to a deeper blue, a sign of intense interest among Pythrox. Human, she said, dispensing with honorifics, I have questions that may not be appropriate for classroom discussion. Diana turned to face her, and for a brief moment, Athalia felt a strange sensation, as though she were being assessed not as a sentient being, but as potential prey. The feeling passed quickly, but it left the Pythrox with a newfound respect for this Deathworld species. Call me Diana, the human said, and I'm happy to talk outside class. Cultural exchange is why I'm here, after all. Athalia inclined her head slightly, not quite a bow,
but an acknowledgement of equal status. I am a Thalia. The others fear me because I am a carnivore. They fear you because you are human. Perhaps we have more in common than appearances suggest. Diana's expression softened into what Athalia would later learn was a genuine smile. Perhaps we do. Predators understand each other, even across the stars. Professor Ceruz watched this exchange with fascination. Something profound was happening. The beginning of a bridge between two vastly different evolutionary paths. As an educator, he could imagine no more important moment.
Diana's quarters in the exchange student wing were Spartan but functional, specially modified to accommodate human physiology. The bed was reinforced to handle Earth-standard gravity replication during sleep cycles. The bathroom facilities had been adapted for human waste management. Even the food dispensers had been programmed with Earth-compatible nutritional profiles. She sat cross-legged on the floor, another uniquely human posture that her xenobiology trainers had discouraged as potentially threatening to certain species, and reviewed her notes from the day's classes. The datapad felt fragile in her hands, designed for beings with less muscle density and grip strength. A chime indicated an incoming communication. Diana tapped the acceptance icon, and a holographic display materialized above the pad. Reynolds. The stern face of Commander Eliza Chen, military liaison to the Galactic Exchange Program, appeared in the projection. Status report. Diana straightened instinctively. Despite the civilian nature of her current assignment, military protocol was deeply ingrained after years of service. Day 1 completed successfully, Commander. Initial contact established with primary education staff and student body. Cultural exchange proceeding according to parameters. Chen's expression remained impassive. Reactions, as expected. Fear, curiosity, scientific interest. Professor Ceruz is particularly engaged. One student, a Pythrox carnivore named Athalia, has initiated closer contact. The Pythrox are on our list of species of interest, Chen noted. Their predatory evolution makes them more compatible with human psychology than most council races. Foster that connection. Diana nodded. Already in progress, Commander. Any complications? Diana hesitated. Nothing significant. Some infrastructure limitations. Their technology isn't designed for our physical capabilities, and the gravity adjustments are causing minor discomfort. Nothing that compromises the mission. Remember your objectives, Reynolds. This isn't just an educational exchange. The Council's Integration Committee is watching every move we make. The success of this program will determine humanity's place in galactic society. Understood, Commander. Though I must reiterate my discomfort with the partial disclosure protocol, these people are scientists and students. They deserve the full truth about Earth and humanity. Chen's eyes narrowed fractionally. The full truth would end this program before it begins, Reynolds. Can you imagine their reaction if they knew about our military capabilities, our history of warfare, the fact that we evolved as apex predators who drove multiple intelligent species on our own planet to extinction? That we're the only known sentients who developed nuclear weapons and used them on our own kind. Diana remained silent, acknowledging the point without agreeing. Partial disclosure is the compromise, Chen continued. We don't lie, we simply don't volunteer information beyond what's directly asked. The Council species operate on consensus and cooperation. Their civilizations evolved without the constant pressure of survival that shaped humanity. They're simply not prepared for the full reality of what we are. And when they eventually learn the truth, Diana challenged, what then by that point will be too integrated into their society to be excluded? And perhaps by then we'll have learned enough from their cooperative model to temper our more problematic instincts. Diana sighed. As you say, Commander, though I maintain that honesty would serve us better in the long run. Your objection is noted. Proceed according to protocol. Chen out. The hologram dissipated, leaving Diana alone with her thoughts. She rose and moved to the viewport, gazing out at the unfamiliar stars. The Galactic Academy station orbited a neutron star in a system devoid of habitable planets, neutral territory, carefully selected as the site for this first major integration effort. A soft chime at her door interrupted her contemplation. "Enter," she called, turning from the viewport. The door slid open to reveal Athalia, her scales now a deep indigo that Diana had not seen before. "Human, Diana," the Pythrox corrected herself. "I hope I'm not intruding on your rest cycle." "Not at all." Diana gestured to a reinforced chair. "Please make yourself comfortable." Athalia entered cautiously, her predator's gaze taking in every detail of the modified quarters. "Your dwelling smells of metal and artificial compounds. Do humans not use organic materials in their habitations?" Diana smiled. "On Earth we use a wide variety of materials: wood, stone, metals, synthetics. But these quarters were constructed according to our specifications. Durability was prioritized over aesthetics." Athalia settled into the chair, her tail curling around its base in what Diana recognized as a sign of comfort rather than tension. "The others are still discussing you. Some believe you concealed the true nature of your species during today's class." "Oh," Diana raised an eyebrow. "What didn't I share?" "They believe no species could evolve on a world as hostile as you described without developing aggressive territorial instincts and formidable natural weapons." Athalia tilted her head. "I am inclined to agree. You move like a predator, yet speak like a diplomat." Diana considered her response carefully. Partial disclosure, Chen had insisted, but establishing trust with Athalia might be crucial to the mission's success. "Humans are complex," she admitted finally. "Our evolutionary history is marked by both cooperation and conflict. We developed tools and weapons early in our development, which reduced our reliance on natural physical adaptations. But yes, we do have territorial instincts, and our bodies are capable of significant violence when necessary." Athalia's scales rippled with interest. "The others fear you without understanding why. They sense the predator beneath your calm exterior." "And you?" Diana asked. "Do you fear me?" The Pythrox's mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of serrated teeth in what Diana recognized as the equivalent of a smile. "I respect you. Fear is for prey." Diana laughed, a genuine unguarded sound. "I think we're going to get along well, Athalia. That is my hope. The professors have paired us for the xenobiology project. I believe they expect the only carnivore student to partner with the Deathworlder." "Convenient stereotyping," Diana said dryly, "though I'm glad for the assignment." "What's our topic?" "Comparative predatory adaptations," Athalia said. "We are to analyze the evolutionary differences between Pythrox hunting mechanisms and human capabilities." She hesitated on the last word, as if uncertain how to categorize human attributes. "Interesting." Diana considered the implications. "That will require some practical demonstrations, I assume." "Yes, the physical assessment laboratory has been reserved for our use tomorrow after standard classes." Athalia's scales shifted to a lighter shade, indicating either excitement or anxiety. Diana wasn't yet proficient enough in Pythrox expressions to distinguish the subtle variations. "I'll look forward to it," Diana said, "though I should warn you, humans have certain regulatory mechanisms that might affect the results." "Regulatory mechanisms?" Athalia's head tilted in curiosity. "Self-imposed limitations," Diana explained. "Most humans unconsciously restrict their physical output to prevent injury or conserve energy. In emergency situations, these limitations can be overridden." Athalia's eyes widened slightly. "You restrain your capabilities deliberately." This is not something predator species typically evolve. It's complicated, Diana admitted. Human evolution took some unusual turns. We gained conscious control over many automatic functions: breath, heart rate, muscle tension. It gives us versatility but requires constant self-regulation. The Pythrox considered this information with obvious fascination. You are indeed strange creatures, humans, neither purely predator nor prey, yet somehow both simultaneously. That's actually a fairly accurate description. Diana acknowledged. We're full of contradictions. Athalia rose, signaling the end of her visit. Until tomorrow then. I look forward to our project. She paused at the door. The others may avoid you out of fear, but I will not. Knowledge is worth the risk of proximity to a Deathworlder. After Athalia departed, Diana returned to the viewport, reflecting on their conversation. The Pythrox was perceptive, perhaps too perceptive for the partial disclosure approach to be effective long-term. But her curiosity might provide an opportunity to build genuine understanding between their species. Diana touched the communication panel. Reynolds to command. Request permission to extend disclosure parameters for the Xenobiology project. Subject is Pythrox student Athalia, designated potential ally. Project involves physical capability assessment. The response came almost immediately. Permission granted within restrictive parameters. Demonstrate Class 3 capabilities only. Review Protocol 7B before proceeding. Acknowledged, Diana confirmed, then disconnected. Class 3 capabilities, enough to impress but not enough to alarm. It would have to do for now, though Diana suspected that Athalia would quickly realize she was still holding back. The Pythrox's predatory instincts would recognize restrained potential. Diana pulled up Protocol 7B on her secure datapad, reviewing the carefully calculated revelations permitted for selected non-human associates. The document was essentially a script, what she could demonstrate, how to contextualize human capabilities, which questions to deflect. For a civilization that prided itself on exploration and discovery, humanity had become remarkably adept at strategic concealment. The irony wasn't lost on Diana as she prepared for tomorrow's demonstration. The physical assessment laboratory was larger than Diana had expected, a cavernous space filled with various types of equipment, designed to measure different aspects of biological performance. Most appeared calibrated for species with vastly different physiologies than humans. Professor Sierros was already present when Diana arrived, along with another faculty member she hadn't met, a Vorax, one of the few Class 4 Deathworld species in the Council. The Vorax was shorter than Diana, but broader, with dense musculature visible beneath iridescent exoskeletal plates. Its 4 eyes tracked her movement with predatory focus. "Our human Reynolds," Professor Sierros greeted her. "Thank you for participating in this assessment. May I introduce Professor Klevac, our xenophysiology specialist." The Vorax inclined its heavily armored head. "Human. Your species has generated much discussion among the faculty. I look forward to documenting your capabilities." Diana nodded respectfully. "Professor, I'm happy to participate, though I should mention that I'm not an exceptional specimen by human standards. My physical capabilities are roughly average for my demographic." "Noted," Klevac said. "Though even baseline human physiology appears remarkable by Council standards, we have calibrated our equipment based on preliminary data provided by your embassy." Athalia entered the laboratory. Her scales today a vibrant blue that Diana now recognized indicated excitement. The Pythrox moved directly to Diana's side, maintaining a proximity that clearly made Professor Sierros uncomfortable. "We will begin with basic measurements," Professor Klevac announced, then progress to active assessments of strength, speed, endurance, reflexes and coordination.
The data will be compared to established profiles for other council species. I understand, Diana said. Though I should warn you that humans exhibit significant variability, my results shouldn't be considered representative of all humans. Variability within species is expected, Klivak acknowledged. But patterns emerge with sufficient data points. Your embassy has promised additional human subjects in the coming weeks. The initial measurements were straightforward: height, weight, limb proportions, joint flexibility. Diana noticed Athalia taking detailed notes, occasionally glancing from the measurements to Diana herself with evident interest. Your muscle density is remarkable, Professor Klivak observed as a scanner displayed a three-dimensional rendering of Diana's musculoskeletal structure, comparable to Vorak's physiology, despite your evolved in 30% higher gravity, and your skeletal reinforcement suggests adaptation to significant impact forces. Earth's gravity does pose challenges, Diana acknowledged, and our ancestors faced numerous physical threats that shaped our evolution. Indeed, the Voraks adjusted several settings on the scanner. Now let us proceed to active assessments. We will begin with grip strength. The device resembled a handle connected to a digital display. Diana grasped it as instructed, squeezing with what she judged to be approximately 60% of her maximum effort. Within the Class 3 capabilities she was permitted to demonstrate. The display flashed, and both professors stared at the reading. That cannot be accurate, Professor Sierros said, blinking rapidly. The device must be malfunctioning. Professor Klivak checked the calibration, then looked at Diana with newfound interest. It is functioning correctly. The human has exerted pressure equivalent to 2.7 times galactic standard baseline. This exceeds even Vorak's capabilities by a significant margin. Diana feigned surprise, though she had carefully calculated her effort to produce precisely this reaction. Impressive but not alarming. Is that unusual? Human hands evolved for both precise manipulation and powerful gripping. We were tool users and tree climbers for much of our evolutionary history. Most remarkable, Professor Sierros murmured. Athalia, you may wish to note this in your comparative analysis. Pythrox grip strength averages 1.8 times galactic standard. Athalia nodded, but her expression suggested she wasn't entirely convinced by Diana's performance. As a predator herself, she perhaps recognized the controlled nature of the demonstration. The assessments continued through various strength tests, all of which Diana carefully modulated to remain within her permitted parameters until they reached the endurance station. This apparatus will measure your cardiovascular efficiency and muscular endurance, Professor Klivak explained. You will maintain an increasing workload until exhaustion. Most council species reach their threshold within 10 to 15 minutes. Diana nodded, mounting the device, similar to a treadmill but with adjustable resistance and incline. As the test began, she settled into an easy rhythm, monitoring her vitals on a nearby display. Her heart rate and respiratory patterns remained well within normal parameters, even as the machine gradually increased its demands. 10 minutes passed, then 20. At the 30-minute mark, Professor Sierros began showing signs of impatience, while Professor Klivak's interest seemed to intensify. Athalia simply watched, her predator's eyes missing nothing. Your respiratory efficiency is unlike anything in our database, Professor Klivak noted as the machine continued to increase its demands. Your oxygen utilization remains optimal despite the increasing workload. Human endurance is one of our defining characteristics, Diana explained, deliberately keeping her breathing even. As I mentioned in class yesterday, persistence hunting was one of our early survival strategies. At the 45-minute mark, Diana decided she had made her point. Following Protocol 7B, she began displaying controlled signs of fatigue, slightly labored breathing, increased perspiration, marginally decreased performance metrics. "I think I'm reaching my limit," she announced, though in truth she was operating at approximately 70% of her actual capacity. Professor Klivak terminated the assessment, and Diana dismounted the machine, careful to appear slightly fatigued, but not exhausted. "Extraordinary," Professor Sierras said. "The endurance demonstration alone challenges multiple established theories of xenobiological development." "Indeed," Professor Klivak agreed. "No other known species combines this level of strength with such cardiovascular efficiency. Most evolve either for power or endurance, not both simultaneously." Athalia moved closer to Diana, her scales now shifting toward a deeper purple. "You were restraining yourself," she said quietly, too low for the professors to hear. "Why?" Diana met her gaze steadily. "Protocol," she replied simply. Understanding flickered in the Pythrox's eyes, but she didn't press the issue. "We will continue with reflex and coordination testing," Professor Klivak announced, leading them to another station. The reflex tests revealed what Diana already knew. Human reaction times were exceptional by Council standards, though not unprecedented. Several predator species, including the Pythrox, displayed comparable neural response speeds. The coordination exercises, however, demonstrated the unique combination of precision and strength that characterized human fine motor control. The data suggests humans possess an unprecedented combination of physical attributes, Professor Klivak concluded, as they completed the final assessment. Strength comparable to Class 4 Deathworld species, endurance exceeding any documented profile, reflexes matching top-tier predator species, and fine manipulation capabilities, rivaling the most dexterous Council races. Professor Sierras appeared thoughtful. "And you say you are merely average by human standards, Diana?" She nodded. "There are humans significantly stronger, faster, and more durable than me. Our elite athletes and specialized military personnel undergo extensive training to maximize natural capabilities." "Fascinating," the Alkin professor murmured. "It seems the classification of Earth as a Category 5 Deathworld may be insufficient to explain human evolution. We may need to develop new theoretical frameworks." Professor Klivak's 4 eyes narrowed slightly. "Or perhaps we do not yet have the complete picture of human capabilities and evolutionary history." Diana maintained a neutral expression, though internally she acknowledged the Vorax's perspicacity. As a Class 4 Deathworld species themselves, the Vorax were more likely to recognize evasion and controlled disclosure. "I've shared what I know of our biology and history," she said carefully. "Though I'm not a xenobiologist or evolutionary specialist, my knowledge has limitations." "Of course," Professor Sierras interjected smoothly, "and we appreciate your participation in these assessments. The data will be invaluable for Athalia's project and our broader understanding of interspecies physiological diversity." As the session concluded, Diana noticed Professor Klivak watching her with heightened interest. The Vorax's suspicious nature might pose challenges to the partial disclosure approach, but for now Diana had maintained the delicate balance between revelation and concealment that her mission required. Athalia accompanied Diana as they left the laboratory, waiting until they were alone in the corridor before speaking. "You demonstrated impressive capabilities,"